Welcome, week number 2 of the Seven Rivers Racing Show here on KQEG TV. I'm Dan Dyker along with Al Losi. We're getting closer to racing season. It's supposed to be snowing again a little bit more, so it's going to kind of take away from some of the guys, but it's going to put them inside the shops, inside the sheds, hopefully pull some of those trannies and some of those bodies I've seen still laying in the snow every time I open up Facebook, and get some work done. How are you?
I'm doing fine, and yeah, in fact, we're working on it in our shop. If it's snowing, you might as well be in there. And the Daytona 500 kind of gets everybody's juices flowing a little bit here, and so that's when people start pulling the trannies if they haven't been done, and come up with designs, because everybody won't. You win the races really before they even start, because all the work that's done in the shop is what ends up in championships.
Our guest today, he's sitting right next to us, and he's one of those that has not one but 2 vehicles that are already ready to go. One's ready to go, the other one's kind of ready to go. Jay Herbst, the driver of the Always Ready Mix 82 at the La Crosse Speedway. Jay, we sent a cameraman out to your shop. We're going to get into that later on in the program. How's your off season?
Been kind of boring. I'm jumping at the bit to get back in the car. I mean, the guys have been working really, really hard all winter long on our cars, and we've got one done and one's almost done, so I'm really looking forward to climbing back in the car.
Well, we're going to talk to Jay here later on in the program. We want to thank our sponsors, Kerry Heating and Air Conditioning, West Salem Pharmacy, Lost Lake Beer, and a home in American Legion. Well, schedules have been released for the La Crosse Fairgrounds Speedway, for the Excalibur Speedway in Tomah. If you didn't know, Tomah's going to have some racing again this year. They're going to be having the Excalibur Speedway Sportsman, Thunderstocks, Bumblebees, the Chaos, which we're going to be talking about in a couple of weeks. Also, the ASA Minuas Tour. They're going to have sportsmen and trucks there. So Mr. Thompson's got things going over at the Tomah Speedway. Also, Wisconsin Dells, they've got their schedule released as well. And it's always interesting to find out when La Crosse releases their schedule what Mr. Chuck Deary and Dave Nelke have up their sleeves. And I've noticed a couple of things that are going to be coming up this year. Of course, Media Day is April 16th. First good chance at practice. And you know, folks, since the Wisconsin Dells Motor Raceway doesn't start until May, a good chance to see maybe some of the Dells guys coming out to the La Crosse Fairgrounds Speedway and testing their cars out, as I think it's about a month or so that La Crosse starts before the Dells does. Of course, the opening night for the La Crosse Speedway is going to be the 23rd. I anticipate quite the good car count at La Crosse this year on opening practice day on the 16th.
On the 16th, I would expect so, depending on the weather. Sometimes it's really great and in the 60s. If it starts getting below 40, besides the discomfort for the crews, you kind of don't want to put your equipment at risk either. You don't want to be sitting there for a while and letting things freeze up. You don't want the rubber getting that cold. But you do want to get out there and try to get a practice session going, just so that all the things that you worked on during the course of the winter, you can try them out, and if they don't work, that's a good chance of getting things squared away.
Well, I've got most of the drivers from the La Crosse Fairgrounds Speedway, Excalibur, and the Dells on my Facebook on the internet, and it's kind of funny to watch some of the pictures that are coming out now of cars that are still in the snowbanks. Not like late model cars. Your Thunderstocks and Hornets, a lot of those are still in the snowbanks. A lot of wheeling and dealing going on this time of the year. Still some guys getting their Hornet cars sold. They're either selling them, they're trying to find them, they're trying to find parts, and of course you're in a late model family. This is the best time of the year to find parts from other drivers that not only A, are shifting classes, but B, maybe putting together a new ride.
You're exactly right. There are some rumors going around, some pretty good rumors. I've heard that Nick Clements is going to be jumping into a late model, and that'll be good for him. I think that he'll be a very good driver in that division coming up from the Sportsman. And you're right, people are getting parts. They're going to swap meets all over the Midwest. I know there was the Racing Expo that they held in Madison this year. That's always a big deal the first week of January for a place, not just to get parts, but to also sell your old parts, things that could still be good for somebody else that you could probably sell, make a few dollars on to upgrade your own equipment.
So again, that's one thing you might want to do as a fan this year, is when you're down in the pits, whether you're at Tomah, you're at the Dells, maybe you're at La Crosse, find out what your Facebook drivers' names are. What do they use on Facebook? Get them on Facebook, add them as a friend. Mike Henneke is a great example, because Mike not only has his personal Facebook page. He also has a Kinnicky Racing Facebook page. There's pictures updated on there when he has fan giveaways coming up, stuff he does in the pits, and it's a great idea to help market not only yourself as an individual, but yourself as a race team. Sponsors always love it as well. It's a great free medium that's out there.
Oh, they sure do, and it's not just Facebook, it's the entire internet. I know my son has his website out there, and it's a good opportunity, another opportunity for them to display their sponsors and get them as much information on the sponsors so that the sponsors are happy with the product that we're putting out there for them, because we represent the sponsors. As Jay represents his sponsors, Bill Niles represents his sponsors we saw last week very well, and that's what you do. The name of the game, a lot of it is sponsorship. What happens on the track is probably 5% of the total amount of time involved in a racing team. Sponsors really are the #1 thing, and work, even though you put in 40, 50, 60 hours a week on a race car, that doesn't come close to what you do for your sponsors. And it might not be time-wise, but it's effort-wise.
We're talking about schedules. The 2011 Excalibur Speedway schedule was released about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. Their opening practice will be Friday, May 13th. So they're going to be starting here a little bit in a couple of weeks. Cranberry Cruise, it's a 4-cylinder enduro. A lot of the racetracks around this area start their regular seasons off with enduros, and a lot of them, like La Crosse, start and finish their seasons with enduros. The opening night for the Excalibur Speedway in Toma will be Friday, April 20th, and you can find out their schedule at ExcaliburSpeedway.com. They've done a nice job along with the ASA in getting their schedule together, and of course then you can also find them on Facebook. LaCrosseSpeedway.com, you can find out La Crosse Speedway. They've got their schedule and their new rules are out as well. Dells Raceway Park starts this year. Practice day is May 7th. They've got, as a matter of fact, 2 weeks of practice, which is kind of convenient, the 7th and the 14th of May. And then opening night, plus automation and vintage cars will be May 21st at Wisconsin Dells. So you have a bevy of racing here in western Wisconsin. Corey Jankowski, can he make it back-to-back titles? And he was chased down by Mike Lichtfield last year. Took second place as a rookie at Dells. So going to be interesting to see what happens at Dells. It's going to be interesting to see what happens at Toma and La Crosse. We're going to talk more about La Crosse with Jay Herbst. You got to love him or you got to hate him, whether in the pits or on the track. He has become NASCAR's man you love to hate. And we're going to talk to Jay Herbst, the driver of the Always Ready Mix 82, coming up next on the KQEG Seven Rivers Racing Show.